6 o'clock. Today is the 27th day of April, I believe, 2023. And we're going to bring this meeting to order. And are we still doing the, hang on a second. There's no pledge? No pledge anymore?
Whatever you, well,
Okay.
It's not on here, but if you,
All right, we'll dispense with that for tonight. And let's see. First, are we going to go right into the first?
well, actually, I'd like to introduce everyone. This is Renee Yother. She's the new board secretary.
Okay.
So she can go ahead and call roll for the
Okay.
two of you.
Mr. Bond?
Here.
Mr. Slayton?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Can you bring up the agenda?
There's not much to do tonight, and because I believe one of the biggest agenda item got pulled at some point, right?
Well, really tonight was called to interview potential new applicants. That was
Right.
really the main reason. Because as you can tell, we need some more members on here. So yeah, that'll be happening tonight. And then just we'll need to do the election of a chairman and vice chairman
Okay.
and approval of the minutes. So yeah,
Okay.
first we do the approval of the
Yeah,
minutes
we'll
from
take that.
September 22nd.
You want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 22nd, 2022 Board of Adjustment meeting.
I second the motion.
All right, and so now we've got the. Oh yeah, sorry.
You want to call, Renee, can you call the roll on the vote? Yes.
Yes.
And now, exactly. Can we, now, a new point of order, when if we approve new candidates to the board, can they be sworn in tonight and then vote for the board member, for the, no? Next meeting?
Yeah, the board's gonna make a recommendation to the city council. So you make a recommendation, they go to the council, and the council will interview them as well, and then make an appointment.
Okay, all right.
And then they'll be back to see you at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. So we're
Yeah.
going to do a selection of officers right now, and
Don't wrestle them.
yeah, exactly. And since I've had one meeting as chair, I'll just
experienced
nominate myself again for chair, and then vice chair for Steve, and I'll nominate Steve for vice chair. And
Get a second on that?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
for the nominations.
Yes.
All right, congratulations.
All right, so now we're going to do some interviewing of the candidates, and I believe that all three are here. We've got Steve, Lou, and Adler. No, Adler is not here.
Adler said he was going to be running a couple minutes late,
Okay, that's fine, no problem.
but he should be here probably within the next few minutes. But we can start with Mr. Hepp.
Okay, and let's see, I'm looking at, let me pull these up here real quick. I know Steve because we are been friends on Facebook for a very long time. We both have similar interests. I've followed his posts, and let's see, hang on, let me get all these straight here. And I think the city attorney might have some questions for you before we get started. Is that right?
Yep,
Okay,
tough questions.
yes.
If you want to come up to this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and give your name and your address, Steve.
All right, my name is Steve Hepp. I live at 8730 Clara Elizabeth Lane in Cape Canaveral.
All the information in your application true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
It is, yes.
The Board of Adjustment serves in the capacity of handling several types of development permit applications, special exceptions and variances. Also, on occasion, we'll hear appeals of and code interpretations made by staff. I don't know if you had a chance to look at their duties. Could you explain to the board, why you would like to serve on the Board of Adjustment, and if you bring any special skills or knowledge to the task?
Yes, be happy to. I actually saw a post from John Bond a few months ago indicating that the city was looking for applicants. My career in Ohio, which is where my wife and I moved from a few years ago, my career was 45 years long in a design and build commercial construction career in which I worked on all types of commercial, industrial, institutional projects. So I guess you would say I served on both sides of the fence, because one of my duties on developing projects many times involved going to taking the project to a planning commission or a zoning board or an appeals board if a variance was needed. And in the way of service, in the small town we lived in Russell's Point, Ohio, was a small village. I actually served on the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is the same duties as I understand this board is. Served on that board. And for a while in one of the small villages up there, I was a zoning inspector, which was a very part-time evening weekend type situation. So I think it lends me to an understanding of zoning codes. I understand parliamentary procedure. I'm treasurer of our condominium board where I live. And I've served on 3 other condominium boards in the past where we owned a condominium in Ohio, and I actually developed a condominium storage project in Ohio. So like I say, I've been on both sides of the fence, so
So you've had chance to get the heck beat out of you a few times.
yes, I have.
Great.
But some of the more well-attended cases seem to be least insignificant items, but
Understood.
brought out the anger in the village citizens. But you deal with it and move on. But be happy to answer any questions that staff or board members have. So.
I'm fine.
Well,
You're speaking to the microphone.
you're well, you have good knowledge of what goes on with the board, especially here. It's small, but there's things that come up that are, well, we had things that, need clarification. So it seems like you're well versed in all that.
I would think so. I obviously haven't had access to City of Cape Canaveral zoning ordinance, but like I say, I've dealt with probably 50 other ones in my career. So.
Yeah, you'll have plenty of chance to do your homework before the meeting, so no
Right.
problem. And as for me, you're obviously well credentialed, and I've followed you, and I find you to be a very objective person. So I'm all in. I have no problems. And are we going to, go ahead and, I think you can have a seat now if you'd like, is that right?
Yeah, if you guys want to discuss and you can make a recommendation
Okay.
Now? No?
if you'd like, or if you'd like to discuss.
I'm all for it.
I just, no, are we making a recommendation or a motion?
Would be a
The motion.
a motion to recommend.
If it's a motion, it's more, isn't it a motion more like
A motion would be more official, yes, and,
Official,
so
yeah.
I just,
I'm not.
no, that's fine,
Trying to
yeah,
get it right.
absolutely. I would most definitely, and, unless you guys have something else, most definitely recommend Steve, to serve on the Board of Adjustment,
I agree.
Agreed.
right? So,
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
second,
Okay.
call the roll.
Mr. Bond?
fourth,
Mr. Slayton?
4.
Mr. Weber?
For it.
all right. And,
I did see Mr. Moldenhauer came in. If he wants to go next.
I'm sorry?
Adler Moldenhauer was able to make it, so
Okay, let's see, there, let's see, HEP, or, where's my other one? Is it,
Mr. Hep.
no, that was just Steve. Where's my other one at? Oh, here it is, hang on just a second. I got it. Somewhere. Is it Mulhauer or Moldhauer? Moldenhauer, okay. Why don't you come up to the podium, go ahead and repeat your name and your address.
My name is Adler Moldenhauer. I live at 320 Adams Avenue, Cape Canaveral. I missed the first part of the meeting. I'm sorry I'm late. My son was just born Monday the 17th.
Ooh, congratulations, wow, awesome.
And things are a little haywire in my
yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, thank you for showing up.
The city
And,
just grew.
So,
It's a wonderful thing.
city attorney is going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Okay, all the information in your application is true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
I noticed in your application, you're an engineer, entrepreneur. Explain to the board what kind of, skills and experience you can bring to dealing with the Board of Adjustments roles and responsibilities, which are to handle certain kinds of development permit applications.
Sure. So, mechanical engineer by trade. I have a manufacturer's representative business, which I conduct sales in manufacturing. I also have a direct role where I'm a sales manager for a fluid power company. Both of them are sales roles. Again, mechanical engineer, so I have experience modeling parts, but I've also, I have training with AutoCAD, and I've laid out, 2D models as well. But what particularly interested me in the Board of Adjustment was an experience I had owning a home. I'm from Buffalo, New York originally. I've been in Florida 2.5 years now.
Good move.
Yeah. So I owned a house, and it had a 2-acre plot. And I looked up all of the local zoning restrictions and rules, and got my permits, built a couple outbuildings and a fence. And during that experience, there was about 42 8-foot fence pieces I installed by myself. I rented an auger, and I 3-foot depth cement 4x4 posts. The one run was, I think it was an L-shaped property, but nonetheless, I had a neighbor who came to me and said, "Your fence is on my property." So, I got my, the individual that did my surveying, and we went out there and we found the iron that indicated my property. But we also found conflicting iron for my neighbor's plot. And as my surveyor indicated to me, there's 2 ways you can go about it. You can take this to court, and most likely what they'll do is they'll split the difference between the iron that's found your neighbor's and yours, or we can shift your property over. There's a vacant lot next door. We can just, we could pursue it either way. It's up to you. So I ended up going with the latter option, but just fascinating to discover that, 60 years ago, some iron was placed and the surveys that the town had were inaccurate. And through that process, I really enjoyed it, despite that I had to move my fence something like 8 inches. And I had to dig new holes because you would start to drift into the old holes. So I essentially had to rebuild that length of fence, but through that process, I found it fascinating.
That same kind of thing may or may not have happened in the city, not going to comment. And, have any questions?
No, if it seems like you're well allocated with, and you know about zoning ordinances and how zoning can work and it can be adjusted. And that's a plus, because people that know that something has to be done, and there's no objection. It sounds like you handled it just properly as could be.
Thank you. Yeah, I've looked into variances. I've never applied for one. I remember my father, growing up, built there was a 6-foot max on fences, and then he put 2 feet of lattice above that, and he applied for a variance for that feature at that point. But again, I come from more of a mechanical side of things, but I have an interest in the Board of Adjustments, and wherever it may lead in local government. I'm new to the area, but again, my son was just born here at Cape Canaveral Hospital, and it's where we're going to stay.
While this has not taken hardly any time, I've only been on the board one other meeting. But with all that's going on in your life, do you think you have enough time? Even, if we get busier?
That's a good question. Could you speak to your obligation and the schedule that it takes to be part of this board?
We last met in September, I think.
Okay.
And so it's not going to take a lot of your time. And it used to be a lot different when I was the chair of the Board of Adjustment back in the 2000s. But we have such an amazing staff that has been hired over the years. A lot of that has been taken off of us. And so, but you'll probably see it increase a little bit, but there's not, it's not going to be overwhelming like the Planning and Zoning Board might be, or City Council, things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be wary of making a major commitment. If it was weekly, I'd have to really do some soul searching about that. I do have a busy schedule, but with enough time to put it in my schedule and plan for, given right now things are a little hectic in my household. But going forward, things are starting to calm down, and I don't see a problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if I could just say, we will try to reach out well before a meeting and propose a couple potential dates. Okay. So we try to work with everyone's schedule and make sure we can get everyone together. And sort of what Mr. Chairman was saying, we sort of, when people come in asking for a variance, we show them what it will take, and a lot of times that can steer them away or make them more convinced that they'll get it. But typically the burden of proving a hardship is pretty high. So people, like you said, September was the last meeting, and I think before that it had been a year or so. So it's not super common that you'll have to do this, but there are times, I think maybe 2019, where there were like 4 or 5 meetings. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems manageable. Yeah.
So, no, I read through your application, and I always do my homework. I looked you up on the internet and looked at your credentials there. And so, like Mr. Hepp, I would gladly have you on this board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so I guess at this point, we're going to make a motion, if one of you two gentlemen will make a motion to accept Mr. Moldenhauer to the board.
I'll make a motion to accept Adler Moldenhauer on the board.
I'm honored. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
This does not pay anything, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't?
It just demands time.
Yeah, you can sit down now.
Mr. Bond?
4.
Mr. Slayton?
4.
Mr. Weber?
4.
All right, and then now we have Mr. Lou Brewer. Come on up. State your name and address.
Louis Brewer, 8941 Lake Drive, apartment 306, Cape Canaveral, Florida, 32920.
Good evening.
Hi,
Okay, all of the information in your application is true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
it is, yes,
Okay, so you're an arbitrator,
yes.
okay? Obviously, you're used to adjudicating
That's
facts
where I
and,
thought I might be. of
facts and
some
law,
use.
so,
You know, I have some experience as an attorney after 50 years.
Yeah.
And, I have a thimbleful of knowledge about zoning laws. I know more about space law from the 2 years I spent at Patrick Air Force Base when it was still an Air Force Base. And I was the head attorney there. I've come back here after 30 years. I've been retired from the Air Force. In between, I worked for the state of West Virginia. I was an administrative law judge for 7 years. And then the 8 years, I worked for the State Ethics Commission. And so I know about conflicts of interest more than you ever want to know. And West Virginia is kind of unique among most states that they also administer the open meetings law in West Virginia. It's not constitutional like it is in Florida, but it's statutory. And the Ethics Commission gives guidance to people at all kinds of municipalities, counties, state organizations on compliance with open meetings. So I kind of have a background in that area too. I mean, you've got your city attorney who's the expert. I just, know something about it. Not in Florida. Every rule's a little bit different. So I just feel like I could give you some experience of being a fair guy. That's what I do as an arbitrator. That's why I have work. People pick me. I'm not assigned to anything because it's my turn. People have to choose me. Now, I do work, in addition to being an arbitrator, I am a hearing examiner for the West Virginia Board of Medicine, which is another little interesting thing. It deals with ethical violations and failures to comply with the standards of conduct for doctors. I don't currently do any cases, but I have for about 10 years worked for the Board of Registered Nurses doing the same thing in West Virginia. I'm still a mediator for the Human Rights Commission. My primary area is labor and employment law. I have a master's in labor and employment from George Washington University. And I was the chief labor counsel of the Air Force for a couple of years when I was in Texas. So, yeah, I've done a little bit.
Yeah, I'd
of
say so. So, George, you have any questions?
You don't find there's not a lot of hearings or anything going on now, but you don't see any confliction in your scheduling to be on this board?
I pretty much control my own schedule. When somebody wants to have a hearing, I tell them when I'm available. So I don't, and I'm only part-time. I've got like 12 cases scheduled right now between now and October. And I have hearings in Virginia, West Virginia, Florida. So, and from time to time, I do cases in North Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio, and the Virgin Islands, and California. I was also licensed in California. So, no, I don't see it. You guys don't meet that often right now.
No.
And I don't see it being much of a conflict. There's always a potential, but as I told John earlier, I probably have more conflicts from having cruises scheduled than I would from my work.
You're in the right city for that.
That's a big attraction, and we are planning. I've got a cruise coming up in February and this coming year, and we're just going to walk over and get on the adventure of the seas.
Fortunately, when, like there was talked about earlier, when you when there's a meeting going to be scheduled, they generally give you a couple of different dates to choose from, and then we'll see how many we can get for the right one. So,
Do you have to travel for your cases? Do you have to appear in person, or can you do it remotely?
It varies. Some of it I do, like the last case that I did in the Virgin Islands, I went in person to St. Croix.
I don't blame you there.
The case, I work for I should also say I work for the Board of Medical Services in West Virginia, and the last 2 cases I've done there, I've done by Zoom. All my last 6 mediations have been by Zoom. So it just varies.
Yeah.
Some places they want you to be there in person. So yes, I do have to travel.
I think we hit the jackpot tonight with 3 incredible candidates. And I know Lou, he's my next door neighbor. He's in 8941, I'm in 8931. So we've had a chance to talk quite a bit. And I still did a lot more research. But this is a quasi judicial board. It's a little bit different than most of them. So you're going to be interfacing with counsel for the petitioner's counsel, things like that. And so I think, Lou, I think you and the other 2 are going to be awesome board members. So yes, I'm going to go ahead just ahead and make the motion to approve or recommend Mr. Brewer as a candidate. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bond?
4.
Mr. Slayton?
Or,
Mr. Weber?
Or,
You can go ahead and have a seat, Lou.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, I don't believe that we have any new business, right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah,
So, you gentlemen have any comments before we adjourn?
no, I'd like to welcome the new guys to the board. Doesn't seem like it's real busy right now, but it does get interesting.
Yeah, so from here, we're gonna present them to council in May, assuming they can make the May date. And council will do a similar thing where they interview them, and they'll be the ones that make the final decisions. And then next meeting, we could have up to 6 members.
Okay, awesome. That would be great.
Yeah.
And then, so get back up to full speed here. And what we do is, it seems menial, but it's also extremely important. And if nobody has any other comments, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting until next time.
all right, great.
Okay, thank you.